In the 1930s, Hollywood's golden age faced a formidable new enemy, the Hays Code. This strict set of rules was designed to clean up the movies. Overnight, long kisses, daring costumes, and even glamorized crime scenes were banned. Filmmakers and stars had a choice: play it safe or get clever. While many surrendered to censorship, a defiant few refused to back down. They pushed boundaries, outsmarted the censors, and redefined what could be shown on screen. In this video, we'll uncover the stories of 10 Golden Age icons who defied the Hays Code, and whose rebellious legacies still shine through the silver screen's darkest chapter. Norma Shearer. Long before the Hays Code took full control, Norma Shearer was already pushing the boundaries of what women could be on screen. In 1930, she stunned audiences with The Divorcee, portraying a woman who refused to be shamed for her sexuality. The role was groundbreaking. It won her an Academy Award and made her a symbol of female independence in pre-code Hollywood. Many believed her career would falter once the code began tightening in the mid-1930s. But instead of backing down, Shearer adapted. She moved away from overt sensuality and embraced characters who embodied emotional strength and quiet defiance. In The Women, 1939, she played a dignified wife confronting betrayal with grace and self-respect, proving she could thrive under stricter rules without losing her edge. Much of Shearer's strength came from her influence behind the scenes. As the wife of MGM's legendary producer Irving Thalberg, she had a rare level of control over the roles she took. She used it wisely, choosing scripts that conformed to the code on the surface, but still explored themes of power, autonomy, and emotional complexity. Her performances didn't need shock value. They were layered, intelligent, and quietly rebellious. Norma Shearer showed that defiance didn't always mean confrontation. Sometimes it meant choosing roles that subtly undermined Hollywood's narrow vision of womanhood. She mastered the art of subversion with elegance, making her not just a star of her era, but a pioneer who proved that strength and sophistication could coexist on screen. Irving Thalberg. While Norma Shearer defied the code on screen, her husband Irving Thalberg quietly reshaped it behind the scenes. Known as the boy wonder of MGM, Thalberg wasn't just a brilliant producer, he was the architect of some of Hollywood's most daring and elegant films during the turbulent shift from the pre-code era to the rule-bound age of the Hays Code. As MGM's production chief, Thalberg held enormous influence over what stories made it to the screen. He believed audiences craved more than moral simplicity. They wanted emotional depth, complexity, and truth. Even as censors tightened their grip, Thalberg found creative ways to deliver that vision. Rather than openly challenge the code, he mastered the art of subtlety. Scripts were often submitted in sanitized form, earning approval before being elevated in production with layered performances, charged dialogue, and rich subtext. In films like The Barretts of Wimpole Street, 1934, and Romeo and Juliet, 1936, he respected the letter of the code, but infused his films with themes of forbidden love, repression, and personal sacrifice. Thalberg didn't rebel, he outmaneuvered. His work was refined, deeply human, and often more daring than it seemed. He proved that great storytelling didn't need to be loud to be revolutionary. Though his life was cut tragically short in 1936 at just 37, his legacy lived on. In 1938, the Academy created the Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award in his honor, recognizing producers whose body of work reflects consistent excellence. In a Hollywood bound by rules, Thalberg proved that brilliance could still shine through restraint. Barbara Stanwyck. While Irving Thalberg worked behind the scenes to navigate the censors, Barbara Stanwyck took a different path. She met the challenge head on. With sharp intelligence, natural grit, and undeniable talent, she built a career that thrived before and after the Hays Code took hold. In Babyface, 1933, Stanwyck played a young woman who unapologetically uses her beauty and charm to rise through a male-dominated world. The film was so provocative that it became one of the key examples cited when the industry pushed for stricter enforcement of the code in 1934. But Stanwyck didn't retreat, she evolved. As the rules tightened, she didn't soften, she adapted. Her characters became more complex, her performances more layered. In Double Indemnity, 1944, she played one of film noir's most iconic femme fatales, a woman who was manipulative, dangerous, and yet hauntingly vulnerable. The film stayed within the boundaries of the code, but Stanwyck's presence gave it the raw tension of a pre-code classic. realistic. What set her apart was honesty. She didn't rely on shock or scandal. Instead, she brought real strength and human depth to every role. Whether she was playing a ruthless schemer, a tough-talking rancher, or a woman fighting for dignity, her characters always felt grounded and true. Barbara Stanwyck didn't need to break the rules to make an impact. She mastered them, and in doing so, she showed that power, complexity, and unforgettable screen presence didn't have to be censored. They just had to be played smart. Bette Davis. Just like Stanwyck, Bette Davis knew how to command the screen, but she didn't just adapt to the Hays Code. She challenged it every step of the way. In Of Human Bondage, 1934, she portrayed a spiteful, self-destructive woman with shocking honesty. The film arrived just as the code began tightening, and Davis refused to sugarcoat her performance to fit anyone's standards. Rather than shy away from controversy, Davis leaned into it. She chose roles that exposed the messy, darker side of human nature. In Jezebel, 1938, she played a defiant Southern belle whose bold choices scandalized high society. The role earned her an Academy Award and proved that complexity could still win over audiences, even under the watchful eye of the censors. What set Davis apart was her relentless pursuit of truth. She didn't play characters to be liked. She played them to be understood. While other actresses tried to fit the mold of the virtuous woman, Davis brought depth, contradiction, and intensity to every role. She didn't ask for permission to be strong or flawed. She simply was. Even when studios pushed back, she fought for creative control. In the 1930s, she even sued Warner Brothers to gain more freedom in choosing her roles. It was a rare and risky move, but it secured her legacy as an artist who refused to compromise. Bette Davis challenged the Hays Code, not with scandal, but with substance. She showed that honesty, even when uncomfortable, could still break through Hollywood's restrictions. Her fearless dedication to authenticity changed what audiences expected from women on screen and made her a true legend. Clark Gable. Following Bette Davis, Clark Gable was another towering figure who found ways to challenge the confines of the Hays Code while solidifying his place as one of Hollywood's most iconic leading men. Early roles in films like Red Dust, 1932, and Hold Your Man, 1933, showcased a bold, unapologetically masculine screen persona. He played characters who were flirtatious, aggressive, and sexually confident, qualities that the Hays Code would soon try to tame. But instead of dialing it back, Gable evolved. He adapted to the code without losing what made him unique. And it happened one night, 1934, one of the first films to win all 5 major Academy Awards. Gable played a sharp-witted reporter whose romantic chemistry with Claudette Colbert simmered under layers of innuendo and restraint. It was a perfect example of how to work within the code's rules while still delivering impact. His defining moment came in Gone with the Wind, 1939, where he portrayed Rhett Butler, a complex anti-hero who was charming, rebellious, and morally ambiguous. Despite the Hays Code's restrictions, Gable infused the role with an emotional depth and defiance that thrilled audiences. He didn't need to be explicit to convey desire, tension, or power. His performance proved that masculinity on screen could be layered and vulnerable, not just dominant and stoic. Gable's real skill lay in his ability to suggest more than he showed. He mastered the art of subtle rebellion, using tone, expression, and timing to communicate what couldn't be said outright. Rather than clash with the code, he outmaneuvered it, and in doing so, redefined what it meant to be a leading man in Hollywood's most restricted era. Mae West. Mae West wasn't just a star, she was a revolution. With her razor-sharp wit, commanding presence, and fearless sexuality, she dominated screens in the early 1930s, long before the Hays Code clamped down on Hollywood's freedom. In films like She Done Him Wrong and I'm No Angel, both 1933, West strutted through every scene with innuendo-laced dialogue and a confidence that turned traditional gender roles on their head. While other actresses tiptoed around taboos, Mae West kicked the door open. Her characters were sexually independent, unapologetically bold, and in complete control, qualities that flew in the face of everything the code would soon try to suppress. Her popularity soared, and her influence on box office sales was undeniable. When the code began to tighten, West didn't bow out. She adapted her approach, not by softening her act, but by getting smarter with it. Her trademark double entendres became even more clever, allowing her to slip risque content past the censors under the guise of humor. One of her most famous lines summed it up perfectly. "I believe in censorship. I made a fortune out of it." In Belle of the 90s, 1934, and later films, she walked a careful line, never overt but never dull. Her characters still oozed charm, independence, and desire, but everything was veiled in comedy and suggestion. Audiences knew exactly what she meant, even if the censors didn't. Mae West didn't just navigate the Hays Code, she outwitted it. Her bold persona, witty writing, and refusal to conform made her one of the most unforgettable icons of the Golden Age. In an era of moral policing, she proved that laughter and sex appeal could still pack a punch without breaking a single rule. Howard Hawks. Howard Hawks wasn't loud about rebellion, but his film spoke volumes. A master of many genres, Hawks directed everything from screwball comedies to crime dramas and war epics. And while the Hays Code tried to tighten creative expression, Hawks found clever ways to sidestep its grip without losing any of his edge. Before the code clamped down, Hawks directed Scarface, 1932, a gangster classic so gritty and violent it was almost shelved. The film's raw energy and unfiltered portrayal of crime forced him into a battle with the censors, one that resulted in edits, but also showed Hawks wasn't afraid to test limits. When the code became stricter, he didn't fight it directly, he outsmarted it. In Bringing Up Baby, 1938, and His Girl Friday, 1940, Hawks leaned into rapid-fire dialogue and innuendo, slipping suggestive themes past the censors through sheer speed and wit. His characters, especially the women, were sharp, confident, and independent. They challenged traditional gender roles while staying just inside the boundaries the code imposed. Hawks also played with tone and subtext. In The Big Sleep, 1946, his noir adaptation of Raymond Chandler's novel, he crafted a world filled with moral ambiguity and sexual tension. Lauren Bacall's character in particular exuded a cool, seductive strength that wasn't explicit but unmistakable. Rather than rebel openly, Hawks worked the system from the inside. He understood that creativity thrived under pressure, and he used that to his advantage. His films stayed entertaining, daring, and ahead of their time, all while operating within the code's constraints. Howard Hawks didn't need controversy to make an impact. His legacy proves that with a sharp mind and a smart script, you could still break the rules without ever appearing to. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo was Hollywood's ultimate mystery. Known for her otherworldly beauty and deeply expressive performances, she was a star who didn't just play roles, she became them. But while the Hays Code sought to tame the sensuality she exuded on screen, Garbo's magnetic presence remained untouchable. Before the code, Garbo's films like Flesh and the Devil, 1926, and The Kiss, 1929, were brimming with raw emotion and sexual undertones. Her portrayals of women caught in complex romantic entanglements captured a depth and sensuality that the code would soon attempt to suppress. Yet, even as censorship began to tighten, Garbo's performances didn't falter, they evolved. In films like Grand Hotel, 1932, and Camille, 1936, Garbo transformed the limitations of the code into opportunities for deeper, more nuanced portrayals of love and loss. She didn't need overt physicality to convey passion. Her quiet intensity and captivating expressions were enough to leave audiences mesmerized. She played women whose inner strength and vulnerability existed beneath the surface, making her performances even more striking in the face of censorship. One of Garbo's most notable performances came in Ninotchka, 1939, where she brilliantly balanced humor, intelligence, and romance. The film allowed her to be both powerful and subtly seductive, without directly challenging the moral constraints of the code. Though Hollywood tried to control her image, Garbo's allure was impossible to fully tame. Her ability to convey complex emotions with minimal dialogue, combined with her undeniable star power, ensured that she remained one of the most enigmatic and unforgettable figures of the Golden Age. In a time of rigid rules, Garbo was a force that could never be confined. Jean Harlow, known as the original blonde bombshell, captivated audiences with her sultry charm and undeniable screen presence. Rising to fame during the early 1930s, Harlow was one of the last major stars to break out before the full enforcement of the Hays Code. Her roles were bold, often embodying a sexually liberated woman, qualities that were increasingly difficult to portray after the code took effect. In films like Red Dust, 1932, and Bombshell, 1933, Harlow exuded raw sensuality, playing characters with an unapologetic independence and a fierce sexual agency. These roles embodied a liberated womanhood that Hollywood sought to curb once the code was implemented. However, even as the code sought to restrict her, Harlow adapted without losing her allure. Her ability to navigate the Hays Code with grace became evident in later films like Saratoga, 1937, where she balanced charm and emotional depth, all while dialing back her overt sensuality. Harlow's performances remained potent, demonstrating that even under censorship, a strong screen presence could shine through without crossing moral lines. Despite the limitations of the code, Harlow's sensuality still lingered in her roles, albeit more subtly. In Saratoga, for example, she conveyed longing and desire with a level of nuance that demonstrated her mastery as an actress, continuing to challenge and redefine the parameters of womanhood in Hollywood. Tragically, Harlow's life was cut short at just 26, but her legacy as an enduring icon of sensuality, strength, and adaptation within the confines of the Hays Code continues to influence generations of stars. Her ability to push boundaries, even subtly, solidified her place as one of Hollywood's most unforgettable stars. Cary Grant. Cary Grant, known for his suave charm and impeccable style, was one of the most beloved stars of Hollywood's golden age. His versatility and sophistication made him a favorite leading man, but even in the face of the Hays Code's restrictive guidelines, Grant's star power never dimmed. Known for his witty dialogue and impeccable timing, he became a master of navigating the moral boundaries set by the code. Before the Hays Code took full effect, Grant already showcased his ability to blend romance and humor with subtle sensuality. In films like The Awful Truth, 1937, and Bringing Up Baby, 1938, he used his playful, flirtatious energy to create characters brimming with charm. His comedic roles were filled with suggestive humor, but Grant managed to keep things within the boundaries of what was permissible under the code. As the Hays Code tightened its grip on Hollywood, Grant adjusted by playing roles that subtly alluded to romance and attraction without overt displays of sensuality. Films like The Philadelphia Story, 1940, and His Girl Friday, 1940, showcased his ability to convey sexual tension through witty repartee and rapid-fire dialogue. Though physical affection was less overt, the chemistry between Grant and his co-stars, especially Katharine Hepburn and Rosalind Russell, was undeniable. Their verbal sparring created a dynamic, suggestive energy that adhered to the code's moral constraints, while still conveying the essence of romance. And that's a wrap on the 10 Golden Age icons who defied the Hays Code. These stars didn't just survive Hollywood's strictest era, they thrived, leaving legacies that still shine bright today. Which of these legends inspired you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another dive into Hollywood's most fascinating stories. Until next time, keep celebrating the stars who shaped the silver screen.